Given the physical separation between teacher and students in an online learning environment, it is all the more necessary to come up with strategies to bridge this divide. A teacher in a classroom can look for many visible cues from their students just by looking at them. Without this proximity, other measures need to be taken to recreate this environment. A check-in page might be helpful. My check-in software is designed to be very easy for students and also permits the teacher a means of gathering and organizing feedback from many students. This software is written using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It does not require any cutting or pasting of icons in a third-party software program, and it can be directly embedded into my class websites. The second piece of software is a math survey, which is intended to elicit some feedback from my students about how they feel about math in general. This specific survey is geared toward my grade 10 applied class, where many of the students are not very comfortable with math in general. The questions in the survey are meant to help bridge the physical gap between myself and my students and give me some indication as to how I might modify the delivery of the course to better suit their individual needs. Again, I wrote the software using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which allows me to easily embed the program into a web page. Not relying on third-party software gives me confidence that the survey will not disappear should the platform no longer be available. An important feature of the software is its anonymity, as well as its ability to track all submissions directly to my email. This makes it easy to store and organize all feedback from the students, which allows me to track any trends in their own observations over the course of a semester. I highlight the anonymous nature of the survey so as to reassure my students that no one else will read their feedback. The survey ends with a "thank you for submitting" message that allows my students to know that the survey has been successfully completed. Having all the responses sitting in my email folder lets me know if all students are participating in the survey. I've attached links to both these pieces of software so that you can try them out yourself. Hello, my name is James Wright, and I have the privilege of being the math teacher for your son or daughter this semester. This video is meant as an orientation of the website that I've created for the course. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with Google Classroom. I use Google Classroom primarily for sharing test results. You can visit your son or daughter's Google Classroom page and see the result for any and all tests and quizzes, as well as their overall average to date. This semester, the Google Classroom code is: please let me know if there are any issues with accessing the Google Classroom page. Most of the resources for this course are kept in a website that I have designed specifically for this course, MAT2P. The link for this website can be found in the Quick Links section of Google Classroom. If you click on the link here, it will take you directly to this website. The home page for this site gives you my email address, jameswright@pvnccsb.on.ca. I really appreciate getting feedback from parents as to what is working and what concerns they may have about their son or daughter's progress. There's nothing quite like an engaged parent to help motivate and support a student. Please feel free to contact me with any concerns, feedback, or funny jokes. I need all the material I can get, as I tell the students at the beginning of the semester that 20% of their assessment is based on how hard they laugh at my jokes. Most of the material contained on this page you will already have seen from paperwork sent home at the beginning of the semester. The heart of this website is to be found up here in the navigation bar, where I've listed the various units. At the top of each unit page, there's a link that gives you a brief description of the contents of the unit. On each unit page, the individual days are represented by a row in a table. Within each row, there is a note for the day, the solution to the note questions, the homework, and the homework solutions. This icon here and here represent a link to a text document. These text documents can be opened, read, and printed. These can be very useful should a student miss a class, and also allows me to remain unsympathetic to a student who claims they couldn't complete their homework because they were away the day before. Insert evil cackle. The green checkmark icons represent the solutions to the note and the homework for each day, and again are in text or document form. These can be useful for review and also help a student reverse engineer a question that they may be struggling with. This icon refers to a Google slide. These slides deal with the exact same questions found in the note and homework, but have the added benefit of showing the process in steps. To gain the full benefit of these slides, it is important that they be run in presentation or slideshow mode. Then, by clicking the space bar or arrow keys on the computer, you can see the individual steps that go into solving a question. The blue icon with the arrow on it represents a video link. These videos are a combination of the slideshow animations and me narrating the steps and processes. The benefit of these videos is that they can be watched repeatedly on a student's own schedule. In addition, every video ends with a cartoon, as I firmly believe that everything one needs to know in life can be found in a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip. This question mark icon represents a quiz, and in this case, lets the student know that on the 4th day of this specific unit, there will be a quiz. This trophy icon is a short quiz that is embedded into the website, and though I do not collect marks for these particular quizzes, they do give students a little extra practice should they finish their homework before the end of class. Lastly, this icon here refers to the unit test that is to be found at the bottom of each of the units with the test date. At the bottom of every page on this site, I have a calendar embedded into the page. This allows students and you to keep track of any and all upcoming assessments. I hope you find the resources on this website useful. I'm always looking for ideas to upgrade and refine the site, so if there is something that you think of that you would like to see added, please let me know. Many parents often share with me their own lack of confidence in math. Perhaps the resources found on this page might make you feel a little bit more comfortable in sitting down with your child and helping them through some exercises. It could be an excellent means of bonding, as well as the opportunity on your part to revisit some high school trauma. There are many steps involved in creating a good quality educational video. My philosophy is that the aesthetic quality of the video can go a long way in promoting the perceived credibility of the material. This section outlines the software used and the workflow of my attempt to create such a resource. In Desmos, I set the Cartesian plane with a large graph and zoom into a level with lots of detail. I know the graph that I'll be using will have an equation of 2x minus 1. I also know that I will be referring to two coordinates, 0, -1, and 1, 1. So I'll plot them here. In the wrench settings, I'll remove the minor grid lines and make sure my steps are 1 for both the x and y axes. Once I'm happy with the layout of the Cartesian plane, I'll use the Snippet Screen Grab tool to copy an image of the exact portion of the graph that I wish to use. The next step is to paste the image of the graph into PowerPoint. I like to type equations in MathType, as this particular software gives me a good deal of control over how I insert mathematical equations. The font created by MathType is superior to the ones found in a regular document editor. Once I have my mathematical terms typed out, I can copy them and paste them into PowerPoint. I paste the individual terms into PowerPoint, which allows me to use the animation features to display, hide, and manipulate individual mathematical terms when I want. The animation features of PowerPoint allow me to move numbers and arrows in a manner that helps me to better illustrate the mathematical steps. While running the screen recorder Movavi, I run PowerPoint in slideshow mode so that all the animations are displayed. At the same time, I'll provide a rough narration of the steps being performed. I am envious of content creators that seem to be able to narrate on the fly while demonstrate what is happening on their screens. For all but the roughest recordings, I prefer to do a polished audio recording after my video has been recorded. Once the lesson run-through has been recorded, I take the exported video clip from Movavi and import it into Premiere Pro. I then export the rough narration from Premiere so only an audio file is saved. I then run the audio file through a dictation software called Whisper Transcribe. The Whisper Transcribe software will convert the sound file into a text format. I usually use Microsoft Word. The text document can be edited so the script is created, allowing for a narration that is concise and accurate. My favorite dictation software at present is a program called WhisperFlow. It runs in the background of my computer and simply requires me to press Ctrl Windows to start transcribing into any program I have open at the time. I then print out the edited text document so I have the script in hand. The next step is to record the text document into Fender Studio Pro, speaking slowly and clearly, leaving space between sentences, and repeating any phrases that are imperfect. While in this software, I mix and edit the sound file so the audio is noise-free, clear, and with a good quality tone. Not having the voice of a top-tier voiceover artist, I boost the bass a little bit, thereby inserting a little testosterone into the narration. The resulting recording can then be exported as an MP3 or WAV file. Next, the exported sound file from Studio Pro is imported back into Premiere Pro. Back in Premiere, the audio clip is split and synchronized with the video. Pauses, frame breaks, etc. are added so as to ensure a comfortable pacing of the lesson. Additional animations can be added using Premiere or After Effects. I've recently completed a logo intro-outro in Adobe After Effects, which I have begun to attach to my tutorials. It is my initial foray into branding as I'm toying with the idea of instructional media content creation as a post-retirement hustle. As of this writing, my 85 factor day is 3 days away. Once I'm happy with the audio and video qualities of the lesson, I can export the finished video from Premiere Pro and upload the resulting MP4 file to YouTube. Care must be taken to ensure the correct settings are included in order to make the video accessible. I find storing the large MP4 files on YouTube preferable to uploading them directly onto my host site. Once uploaded with the correct settings and file permissions, I take a copy of the address. Having recently discovered the features in Edpuzzle, going forward I will upload a parallel file with the question options available to that particular platform. In Adobe Dreamweaver, I insert the YouTube link into the appropriate web page. It is important to use a consistent icon so students know that it is a link to a video. In Google Slides, I'll upload the PowerPoint file. Again, Once uploaded, I'll adjust the file permissions and copy the shared link. Using a specific Google slide icon to identify the link in the web page so students can easily recognize what kind of file is being viewed. Lastly, I upload the web page to my web server. I use Network Solutions, formerly iPage, to host my websites, and my registered domain name is jwrightnisha.com. As a music teacher, I found that many parents were not overly concerned with the mark their child was getting in this subject. When I became a computer science teacher, things were a bit different. Now, as primarily a math teacher, I find that parents are extremely focused on what the math mark is. Our reporting system consists of a progress report, a midterm, and a final. The progress report is so vague and generic as to be all but useless. The midterm, while better, is still quite formulaic due to the constraints that we have to use when writing these reports. And of course, by the time we get to final marks, it is too late to address any issues or shortcomings in the student's achievement. The problem, of course, is that writing reports is very time-consuming. My strategy for addressing this situation is to create a program which provides the parents with frequent updates, but is convenient and efficient in performing this task. I've created a series of report generators for each unit in my math class. The students' names are pre-built into the program. The quiz and unit test for the unit are also built in. Beside each unit assessment, there is the option to excuse the student from that particular quiz or test. In the next section, under the heading General Class Comments, there is an input box where I can upload a common general message that applies to the class as a whole. I need to write this portion only once, as it applies to everybody. Under the student-specific comments, I add 1 or 2 short observations regarding that specific student. I enter the quiz and unit test marks into the input boxes and then click the Save All Data button. The percentages for the marks are calculated within the program. I then click Format for Email button, and finally I click the Email Parents button. Within the program, the parent's email is linked to whatever student I've selected in the drop-down box. A Gmail Compose Message dialog box comes up with all the information nicely formatted. Having just written this software and worked out all the bugs, it takes approximately 45 seconds to draft and send one student's progress email. I imagine with a little practice, I'll be able to get this time down to under 30 seconds. I will include these progress reports going forward after each unit, of which there are 6 in all, plus the CT and the final exam. Parental feedback so far has been extremely positive. They thank me for going to all the effort of writing out a detailed report for their child, and I don't bother to tell them that now that the software is complete, it takes me no time at all to send out one of these reports for each student. As well, I have noticed an immediate improvement in some of my less motivated students, since they now know that communication between myself and the parents is detailed and frequent. Parental contact is improved both ways, as now a parent need only click reply to one of these progress reports to send a message back to me. Mr. Wright, what do I need to get in order to pass this course? This is a question I get asked all the time, often in tones of increasing desperation as we get closer to the end of a semester. What I've done up to now is provided them with a formula and invited them to figure out the answer on their own. Students can go to Google Classroom and see what their overall mark to date is. Given the various weightings of different assessments, what they are not able to easily do is predict the effect of a future test mark and its consequences on their average. This calculator aims to make this process easier for students and parents alike. It takes into effect the various weightings and, based on their input, attempts to predict what their final grade might be. They can game various scenarios and see what the overall mark would be in each of these scenarios. One of the reasons I created this particular calculator is to try and motivate students who might be having difficulty in class and demonstrate how, for instance, a strong showing on the CT and final exam could salvage a credit. Each unit has a slightly different version of the calculator, given that as the course progresses, more and more assessments are finalized and fewer guess assessments are left to predict. This particular version could be used once the 6 units of the course are completed. Students would type in the marks they have to date and then try and predict their culminating task and final exam marks. If a student can know what specific grade they need to get in order to achieve their credit, and to show that such a mark might be within their reach, could motivate them to study harder for their final assessments. I struggled with math in high school. In some ways, I believe that may have helped make me a better math teacher, especially at the applied level. My own high school teachers often made assumptions and leaps of logic that failed to clearly explain some of the intermediate steps. This has made me somewhat obsessive when it comes to breaking down my own lessons so that every step is as clear as possible. Being a visual learner myself, I'm a firm believer in the power of diagrams and animations to help explain a concept. I love the semi-permanent nature of putting my lesson into a digital format. The ability to frequently revisit past lessons and use a process of successive refinement to improve these past lessons is a wonderful feature of the digital format. I've always been a little concerned about the impermanent nature of many platforms, but my own programming background will allow me to recreate some of these features in my own software so that I can maintain and keep them for my own use. The degree of analysis required for me to make these detailed videos makes me a better teacher in the classroom too. Having already gone through the steps of creating these online lessons, I have in a manner rehearsed my performance when it comes to delivering it in the class. Hopefully the analysis and forethought that goes into making these lessons makes for a clear and easy to understand lesson when it is applied to an e-learning situation. I very much enjoyed this course. Unlike many ABQ courses, this course was chock full of useful information that I've already begun to implement in my own classes. I particularly appreciate your flexibility in allowing me to pursue some of my own projects for this final assignment. The assignment gave me the opportunity and the incentive to complete a number of projects that I have been contemplating but have never got around to quite finishing. The sharing of information between the students in this course has given me a lot of ideas that I've never considered before. My apologies for the length of the video. I guess I just had a lot to say.